Charles G. Franklyn. Charles Gilbert Francklyn, April 18, 1844 – January 11, 1929, was a British-American capitalist and industrialist who was prominent in New York society during the Gilded Age. Early life. Franklyn was born near Newcastle in England on April 18, 1844. He was the son of Colonel Gilbert William Franklyn and Sarah Jane Nee Cunard Franklyn, 1821–1902. His maternal grandfather was Samuel Cunard, the Canadian shipping magnate who founded the Cunard Line. His uncle was Sir Edward Cunard, 2nd Baronet, and his first cousin, Sir Bach Cunard, 3rd Baronet, lived at Neville Holt Hall and was married to Maud Cunard. His great-grandfather was pro-slavery apologist Gilbert Francklyn, who owned plantations in Tobago and Jamaica. Franklyn was educated in Bath, England, and at Victoria College in the island of Jersey. Career. At the age of 16, he began working for his grandfather's Cunard Line in Halifax, Nova Scotia. After the death of his uncle in 1868, Franklyn became the line's agent in New York, staying in the role till the agency was incorporated in 1880 and taken over by Vernon H. Brown and Company in 1878. He organized the Municipal Gas Light Company, of which he was the first president. In 1884, Franklyn and Harrison E. Gautry led the merger of 6 gas companies, including his Municipal Gas Light Company, the New York Gas Light Company, the Manhattan Gas Light Company, and the Metropolitan Gas Light Company, which combined into the Consolidated Gas Company, of which he was a member of the first board of trustees. Consolidated Gas later purchased Thomas Edison's Edison Illuminating Company and became known as the modern-day firm of Consolidated Edison. Before his retirement, he would also serve as president of the Central Union Gas Company. Franklyn also commissioned one of the first residential gas ranges in the United States, built to his specifications for $275 in Baltimore, Maryland. Real estate and mining. Franklyn owned mining investments in Utah, including the Horn Silver Mining Company, of which he was president, Colorado, San Domingo, and the West Indies, as well as considerable stock in St. Louis and Pacific Railroad, which later became the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway. In 1882, he purchased 637,440 acres 2579. 6 km2 of railroad lands for $887,000 in Carson County, Texas, and adjoining counties to form the Franklyn Land and Cattle Company, not far from Cornelia Adair's Yaw Ranch. The lands were later sold to the White Deer Lands Trust of British bondholders in 1886 and 1887. By January 1886, a ferocious blizzard, in addition to overspending on livestock, fencing, and living quarters, forced the ranch into bankruptcy. In 1887, Franklyn was arrested at his home in New York on charges of fraud by his cousin, Sir Bach Cunard, who alleged that Charles had embezzled $3 million that Franklyn was to have invested on behalf of Cunard. The litigation, which lasted for several years, Franklyn was represented by John Notman of Butler, Stillman, and Hubbard, resulted in the sale of his Elberin, New Jersey residence and a libel lawsuit by Franklyn to the Times. Eventually, in 1889, Cunard withdrew his lawsuit when the parties reached an agreement, the terms of which were not publicly revealed. Society life. In 1892, Franklyn and his wife were included in Ward McAllister's 400. Conveniently, 400 was the number of people that could fit into Mrs. Astor's ballroom. He was one of the original members of the Knickerbocker Club, founded in 1871, and was also a member of the Union League Club and a life member of the St. George's Society. The Franklyns had a 20-room cottage in Elberon, New Jersey on Long Beach Island directly on the ocean, designed by Charles F. McKim of McKim, Mead and White. In 1881, when President James Garfield was shot by Charles J. Guiteau, the president was taken to Franklyn's cottage along with his doctors, nurses, and family to recover. The president died at the cottage shortly thereafter on September 19, 1881. The cottage was later sold in 1889 and eventually burned down on June 14, 1920. After they sold their New Jersey cottage, they built another summer home in Southampton, New York, on Ox Pasture Lane, originally known as Red Croft, in 1897. They had the home for 30 years, helping to make the beach town a fashionable resort among wealthy New Yorkers. Personal life. In August 1869, Franklyn was married to Susan Sprague Hoyt 1845–1932. Susan was born at 94 Fifth Avenue and was the daughter of Edward Hoyt, the head of Hoyt, Sprague and Company, and Susan nee Sprague Hoyt. Her father's family was from Stamford, Connecticut, and among her many prominent family members was Uncle William Sprague Roman IV, the governor of Rhode Island during the Civil War, and great-uncle William Sprague Roman III, a U.S. representative, U.S. senator, and also the governor of Rhode Island. Together, they lived at 15 Washington Square and were the parents of Gilbert Francklyn 1870–1957, an executive with the Consolidated Gas Company who did not marry. Doris Franklyn 1887–1959, a poet and teacher who lived in Southampton and who did not marry. Franklyn died at his home, 160 East 91st Street in New York, on January 11, 1929. His funeral was held at St. George's Chapel in Stuyvesant Square, and he was buried in Southampton.